Hello, everybody. Yes, the rollout. I would say one benefit of small business is that you can decide to form a coalition and just do it. There's no
Oh, you stole my thunder.
process. Yes, sorry, that was the segue.
So true. So true.
So we're really passionate about not just helping our own businesses, but as Kai said, helping other businesses in this industry. This insights industry is powered in great part by numerous smaller size businesses. And we want to make sure that that is a powerful group and a sustained group because that's where a lot of innovation tends to come from. And we are joinable as well. We are at the moment kind of talking through what we'll be doing in the new year and how others can get involved and join forces because we want to make sure this group is something that others can join and take part in as well. So what Kerry and I wanted to do today is kind of do a breakout session in front of you and ask each other a few questions to kind of get the conversation going, and then release you to the breakouts to talk amongst yourselves kind of about, pros and cons of this whole thing, right? Of when, how, if, when, why. Something about small businesses may be intriguing and or where the downfalls and when might you need to turn to a larger organization for your insights needs, or just for your own self and your professional growth. Who knows? So Kerry and I are going to banter for a bit. And I'm in charge of the first question, which is, Kerry, what do you think the main benefits are of working with a supplier who is a small business?
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everybody. And I think we've got a lot of others. I recognize names on this call who are fellow business founders of small businesses. So thank you for being here today. And we are here to champion all of you. I have been on both sides of the table, right? I've been at larger companies. I literally worked for Disney when I was in graduate school, and now I own a small business. And, one of the things I think I hear that's a little bit of, it's not just a benefit of small business, it's a fallacy of large business, which is that when you work with a large business, you get a huge team. And that's just not true. When I've been at big businesses, you still got a 2 to 4 person team, regardless. So the difference is when you're at a smaller business, you tend to have the number 1 or number 2 person in the entire company on that team every time. And, I know in our own company, there are 0 projects we take on where myself or Tracy Castle, who's our managing director, aren't intimately involved in the project. So you always get somebody who's got 20, 25, 30 years of experience. And then you also get people who are in the business of running their own business. So not only do we have an extensive research background, but you get people who are thinking about how to run a business, how to put insights into the context of business decisions day in and day out. So, it's interesting, like we'll do projects where there's research into strategic planning. And then the next week, I will be flying our team out to do our own strategic planning retreat, and everybody gets to come. So the junior people on our team even get that visibility. And I know, Katrina, you do that too, that, everybody on the team, from an intern to the owner, get that visibility into how we make our own business decisions. And I think that visibility allows everyone on the team to bring that thinking back to our client service work. And I think that is a big differentiator in my experience from being at a small versus a large business. Katrina, I know you've done some of that too. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I ran from big organizations fairly early on. Just from a wanting to know all the bits and how everything worked and kind of get hands on everything. And as I think, when I was starting out in my career, wanting to understand how all the bits and pieces fit together, how it all works together, and to really kind of understand and hone where my value could be, where my skill sets, where I needed, more experience or more training. It kind of helped being in a smaller organization where you could really see what everyone did and be able to ask them questions along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about that, when we're writing proposals, I've spent much of my career at small businesses. I come from a small business lineage, I guess. I'm probably like 4th or 5th generation small business owner in my family. So I have a soft spot for that. But, having worked for either small or medium-sized businesses for most of my career, if not all of it, you get to do things like work at the proposal stage, as a junior level employee, and you really get to see how the sausage is made. And I think it's a pretty neat thing to be able to see, the umbrella view and really feel where you fit in. I'm kind of getting into why I work for one, but I think you also get to wear a few hats and see what hats best fit you as an employee too. And which is a good segue, by the way. Katrina, a question I have for you is that, we both work for bigger and smaller companies. I know you started your career off at some larger companies. What do you think are some of the main benefits of working for a small business, and how is that different from working for a larger company? What are the pros and cons of that?
Well, I think, we've talked a lot about the pros, and I want to make sure that this deck isn't too stacked. So I'm also going to address maybe some of the cons, as I think
100%.
those of us that run these organizations do feel the difference when you are working with folks who do want to grow and upskill and get promotions and climb a ladder and achieve, right? It's a little harder to do at a smaller entity. I also want to frame that small businesses
Good point.
runs the gamut, right? The top end of that can be 100 or 250 employees, depending on which metrics you're using. So that may not be the case for all quote small businesses, but this is when we got our accreditation recently, and I realized apparently we are a micro business. Still counted in the state of California. It's all good. But I do think that it's an opportunity to leverage strategically in your career, maybe not the whole time, right? To kind of get expertise, get in to see in the weeds, and also counter that with experiences at larger brands where you're having an impact in a different way, or you're able to grow and change your career in a different way. We all know in this industry, this is like, we just keep passing through, brand side, agency side, larger organization, supplier organization. I think it's great that we can all do that. And I think it's important to get a variety of experiences.
That's so true. I often say to people, and we've interviewed people where I've actually suggested to them they go interview for a larger company for various reasons. But one of the reasons is I think specialists do better at big companies where they can do one thing outstandingly well. Generalists who are very versatile and want to wear a bunch of hats do better at small businesses where they have that opportunity. I'm a generalist. I've been a generalist my whole life, so I do well at small businesses. But I've had people come interview for us where I'm like, wow, you want to be an outstanding app developer and you want to build research apps. That's amazing. Here are 4 people you need to talk to. They are not me, and I'll instead refer them out because I don't think they're a good fit for our company, but I do think they're a good fit for our industry. Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is also kind of the dynamic around sort of agency side or supplier side versus brand side or client side, right? There's also, I have a lot of, conversations in interviews or with mentees and things like that about when you pull each of those levers. Right? Do you want that broad agency view with multiple projects and all kinds of different industries, and when do you want to make sure you can dig in and see the outcome of your work and live within a brand that you work on for a longer period of time? So there's lots of factors to consider when making those moves.
100%. I agree.
Yeah. So I think we also talked in this group about what small businesses bring to this industry specifically. And so it may not just be from kind of a team or a personal development standpoint, but you want to share some thoughts that we had about what we actually bring to the industry?
You tease this at the beginning, Katrina, which is, when you're a small business, it's easier to make decisions, right? You don't have to run it up a flagpole that has 15 layers of hierarchy. If we think something's important, we can just say yes to it and do it. And so there are things, and that can play out in industry type of work. So whether it's clarifying the role of small business in our industry as we're doing here, or we've actually made investments on our end, both in multicultural work and really trying to elevate that and elevate like a real clear understanding of what it takes to do sampling in a way that's representative in our industry. We've been very, very vocal advocates, and I didn't have to convince anybody. We just did it, right? And that's the thing you get to do as a small business. We've also made investments in data privacy, audience research, really understanding what the American voter population understands and thinks about data privacy so that we can help inform the Insights Association and their advocacy in that space. And I didn't have to go get permission from somebody. I just found it in my budget and did it, and reached out to a sample partner that I thought would be in on it. Which is, by the way, I think the only female CEO-owned sample company, CEO run, which is Innovate MR and Lisa Welding Brown. And she's a big champion of this stuff too. And we just did it, right? And we were able to be off to the races, sharing that intel with the Insights Association within a couple months, right? It wasn't this big delay. And I think there is a flexibility you get from that ability to just go and do things that are important without it having to be this big, extensive internal discussion. And I think also the owners of our companies are very aware, we're very involved in these different associations. So we know what's going on and we can anticipate it as we go into budgeting. Like I know next year, the things that I know AI is going to be a big topic going into next year. And I can be thinking about what's my position going to be? Where do we want to contribute? How do I budget that? And we can just do that, right? And there's not this extensive conversation about that. And I think we can be really nimble in that regard and be a real asset to the industry and being able to jump on those things and be responsive on a timeline that industry needs, given how fast technology and some of the conversations around diversity moved. I mean, those things changed overnight, and we can change overnight with that. And I think that's a really important, you still need, to your point, Katrina, you want the bigger companies involved too, because they also have the funding to bring to these things as well. It's not mutually exclusive. Well, they have the bigger pocketbooks to bring to it. We have the greater flexibility to bring to it. And I think the two coexist nicely.
Yeah, yes, for sure. And just to underscore that quickly, the talk about working at a small business and also having that flexibility. A lot of the ideas that we have brought forth have been from people on my team, not me, because they saw something and they knew it could change it. So there's a little power there too.